When ordinary people go to the hospital for examination, most of the examination instruments used are imported, and the examination cost is not low, such as nuclear magnetic resonance equipment. Why is it so expensive for one examination? Just because the localization of this kind of machine is less than 5%, it must be imported from abroad at a high price. So where is the difficulty of making in China? Nowadays, many hospitals import nuclear magnetic resonance equipment, and the price of a single machine is as high as tens of millions of yuan. It is always on, and the cost of maintenance and repair is also very high. Not only is the cost expensive, but even the operation of the machine is a bit squeamish, but there is no way, who made our country unable to produce it. Now that the development of high-tech is accelerating, our country has been able to build a lot of complex machinery and equipment. Why are we helpless in the face of high-end medical equipment and cannot produce it? Where is the problem? Let's take a look first. Why can't this MRI machine be turned off casually? The working principle of this kind of equipment is to use magnets. Inside the machine, there is a core volume of this kind of magnets. This magnet can generate a magnetic field of 1.5 T, which is equivalent to about 50,000 times the magnetic force of the Earth's magnetic field. This magnetic force is very powerful. There is a device outside the strong magnetic field to confine it, which requires the use of a liquid helium freezer. The low temperature of this liquid helium can reach -269 degrees. Its function is to surround and control the energy of the magnetic field in the machine, so that there cannot be an explosion of another dimension, so as to avoid serious problems and even cause safety hazards. When it comes to nuclear magnetic resonance, you can't shut down at will, because the liquid helium device is nearly 300 degrees below zero. This is a high-precision device. The current stimulation can maintain a flow speed of 3.5 meters per second, and rely on this stable temperature to control the stability of the internal magnetic field and the normal operation of external instruments. Now it can be deduced that after this kind of machine that operates according to the second is connected to the power supply, it cannot be cut off easily, otherwise there will be problems with the freezing equipment that stops abruptly. Liquid helium obtains heat energy from the air. And this process has changes. Will begin to expand in the tank, and the internal machine pressure will continue to increase. Once it is not released in time, the explosion caused by these pressure shocks will have disastrous consequences. Even if no serious losses are caused, the machine is not broken, but once the machine is shut down, it needs to be restarted, and the cost is very high. This is mainly because the internal parts of this machine are very fragile. Before leaving the factory, after the MRI is assembled, it will run in the factory for half a year. Problem before you can actually start using it. Shutting down without warning in the middle will cause the liquid helium to change or leak. In case of such a situation, it will be refilled like changing the freon of the air conditioner, but the previous half a year of debugging is equivalent to being formatted. Yes, it is overwritten, and the machine needs to be adjusted again. In this case, the original steps are repeated. This cycle is very long, and the overall cost of restarting will be hundreds of thousands. Facing the crowded medical institutions, they can't wait for such a long time without the machine, and the patients are also anxious, so the MRI machine in the hospital will not be turned off if it can be turned on. Why can't China make domestic products before? Now there are mainly two types of NMR instruments, namely 1.5 T NMR and 3.0 T NMR. It is conceivable that the latter has more energy, and the effect should be better, and the nuclear magnetic power of the core component is more powerful. Then our country has no production capacity for this core magnet or coil, mainly because there is no such raw material. Now that the United States and Germany have monopolized the raw materials and construction technology of this instrument, my country still has a huge distance to catch up. Many medical device manufacturing companies in my country are also increasing research and development efforts in the process of localization, and strive to make breakthroughs. However, at present, it is very difficult to solve this raw material, and there are also extremely precise processing techniques. To reach this level, it will consume more, so it is difficult to completely break through in the short term. About 5% of institutions in China can build 1.5T nuclear magnetic resonance instruments with superconducting magnets, which can achieve a certain degree of localization in the technical field. But there is still a long way to go to catch up with the 3.0T nuclear magnetic resonance instrument. In addition, many hospitals in China have introduced foreign instruments, which are in normal operation and are not in a hurry to replace them. This makes it very difficult for manufacturers to win customers and accumulate usage data and parameters. For a long time, patients have complained about its high cost of use, but the hospital has also suffered. The reason is that most of the profits have been taken away by foreign manufacturers. According to public information, about 80% of domestic high-end medical devices are monopolized by foreign companies. Take the nuclear magnetic resonance instrument as an example. Previously, relying on technological advantages, the West asked for a price of 32 million yuan, but our country had no confidence in bargaining. Fortunately, the latest domestic procurement bid list shows that the domestic 1.5T nuclear magnetic resonance instrument has dropped to 2.6 million yuan, which is another 330,000 yuan lower than last year. In the face of repeated price cuts of domestic nuclear magnetic resonance instruments, foreign media couldn't sit still, accusing my country of destroying the market. Taking this as an opportunity, can we see the hope of 100% domestic substitution of NMR, and the detection fee will be reduced to cabbage price? According to the data, in the past 30 years, the nuclear magnetic resonance instruments used in China were mainly imported from the United States and Germany. As one of the most expensive medical devices, its cost is as high as 32 million. The data shows that the annual cost of importing high-end equipment such as nuclear magnetic resonance in my country is second only to chips and oil. At the same time, the maintenance cost of the NMR instrument is also not low. Every shutdown will cost 600,000 yuan due to the evaporation of liquid nitrogen. The monthly maintenance cost is as high as 100,000 yuan. Relying on a steady stream of post-maintenance costs, several foreign companies can be said to have made a lot of money. In order to achieve technology monopoly, many foreign companies even joined forces to deliberately stop exporting core superconducting magnet technology and raw materials to my country. After this incident, it also made us completely wake up. Core technology cannot be bought or bought. After 20 years of hard work, the Chinese Academy of Sciences has joined forces with Fudan and other domestic scientific research institutions. A total of 200 companies and tens of thousands of engineers have participated in production and research, and finally developed the first domestically produced 3.0T high magnetic field nuclear magnetic resonance instrument. According to public information, the core components of this machine are all independently developed in China, and it has about 124 patents. The technical barriers that the West has held on to for 30 years have now been successfully broken by our country. What is even more surprising is that the price of the domestic version has dropped by about 90%, but it can compete with foreign advanced equipment in terms of scanning accuracy and image quality. In recent years, there have been countless cases of breaking the technical barriers of the West in the field of life science and technology. The surgical robot known as the Hand of God on the operating table received rave reviews after its domestic version came out, and its performance surpassed that of similar foreign products. Like molecules have now been broken by domestic biotechnology companies, and 100-ton factories have been put into production in China, according to the data. The lowest quotation of 2.6 million yuan for domestic nuclear magnetic resonance came from a centralized procurement in Fujian last December. Only domestic equipment is allowed to participate in this bidding. Analysis of industry insiders. This is an attempt to increase domestic support and accelerate domestic substitution. In August last year, the domestically produced 150 million nuclear magnetic resonance instrument made waves in the industry with an ultra-low price of 2.93 million. Now it has dropped another 330,000, and its price is already more than 90% lower than overseas. Industry insiders predict this optimistically. As domestic nuclear magnetic resonance falls to the cabbage price, inspection costs may usher in a significant drop. Coincidentally, in the field of life science and technology, it is not just the nuclear magnetic resonance instrument that is beaten to the price of cabbage by domestic manufacturers. It is reported that this molecule has been confirmed by many universities such as Yale and Ivy League to have the potential to revitalize telomeres, one of the 12 major markers of human aging. Subsequently, the scientific research team of the Chinese Academy of after taking this molecule for a month, the telomere length doubled, which is equivalent to a 20% reversal of the biological clock at that time, relying on the endorsement of overseas authoritative universities and the monopoly of exclusive enzymatic technology. The molecule was quoted as expensive as 23,000/gram on the world's largest reagent website, but there were still many European and American celebrities flocking to it, and the industrial achievements were once hyped to hundreds of thousands. 10,000 harvest demand groups in the country. The logic is similar to the rise of domestic nuclear magnetic resonance instruments in 2017. TimeShop, a domestic biotechnology company, relied on its own patented enzymatic technology to make the production cost threshold of the domestic version of Yixinghao drop by 95%. Import. Statistics show that currently about 70% of the market for such molecular agents is occupied by domestic products. It is reported that the domestic Yixinghao threshold is about 10,000 yuan lower than the overseas version. Now it surpasses overseas competing products in terms of sales by 100 yuan. Industry insiders believe that, at present, all walks of life in China are speeding up domestic substitution, and whoever can go ahead and achieve technological breakthroughs will be able to gain a head start in the market. Industry insiders optimistically predict the current price reduction is just the beginning. With the domestic technological innovation, to make the achievements of domestic nuclear magnetic resonance and Yisheng good benefit the public, it needs to be really reduced to the cabbage price to improve the quality of life of Chinese people. Ensure, behind the expensive and price, what important role does nuclear magnetic resonance, NMR, technology play in the field of medicine and science? 1. Medical diagnosis, magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, is one of the most common applications in medicine. It can provide detailed images of various tissues and organs inside the human body, helping doctors diagnose and evaluate diseases such as tumors, brain diseases, bone problems, cardiovascular diseases, etc. Compared with traditional X-rays and CT scans, MRI does not use ionizing radiation and is safer and harmless. 2. Biomedical research. NMR technology is widely used in biomedical research and can be used to study the structure, function, and interaction of proteins, metabolites, drugs, and other biomolecules. Through NMR spectroscopy, it is possible to determine the chemical composition of molecules, measure chemical reaction rates, analyze metabolic and disease markers, and more. 3. Drug development. NMR technology plays a key role in the drug development process. It can be used to study the interaction between drugs and receptors, determine the structure and stereochemistry of drugs, evaluate the metabolic pathways and kinetics of drugs in the body, and help scientists understand the role and effect of drugs in the human body. 4. Materials science. NMR techniques also play an important role in materials science. Through nuclear magnetic resonance imaging and spectroscopy, the structure, component distribution, magnetic properties, and interactions of materials can be studied. This is of great significance for developing new materials, optimizing material properties, detecting material defects, etc. 5. Earth science. NMR technology is also used in earth science research. For example, it can be used to analyze and study the composition, properties, and pollutants of rocks, soil and groundwater, etc. This is of great help to geological exploration, environmental protection, and other fields. To sum up, nuclear magnetic resonance technology plays an important role in many fields such as medical diagnosis, biomedical research, drug development, material science, and earth science, and provides important tools and means for scientific research in medical diagnosis and treatment. Finally, I would like to remind that nuclear magnetic resonance (NMR) technology is generally safe and harmless, but there are still some potential side effects and precautions. When a doctor decides to perform an MRI examination, he or she will comprehensively consider the specific conditions of the patient, assess the risks, and take corresponding preventive measures to ensure the safety and effectiveness of the examination. If you have a special situation or concern, it is best to have a detailed consultation and discussion with a medical professional. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Please leave your sharing and suggestions in the comment area. See you next time.